Guys, today we got Boba from Boba Chacha here in Pasadena. As you guys can see, I didn't have a chance to go and get a Red Bull for today's episode, so we're going to be drinking some milk tea that is actually Boba Chacha's signature milk tea. It's actually one of my favorite drinks there. If you get a chance, and whenever you guys are in Old Town here, Pasadena, be sure to check out Boba Chacha. Make sure to try that Boba Chacha signature milk tea. Is actually pretty good. If you try any drink there, definitely try that one. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. What is good, everybody? It's your boy, the Foodie Filmmaker, back at you with another episode. All right, so I got a couple of updates for you guys. It's going to be quite of a long intro. I know most of the time when I'm here, I'm like, yo, guys, today is going to be a short one. I'm going to try to keep it short, but today that's not going to be the case because I have quite of a long intro for you guys, and you guys are going to find out why in a little bit, but yeah, I just know that for today it's going to be quite of an intro. I got a couple updates for you guys. I got a couple things that I want to share with you guys. So bear with me. We will get into the episode at some point. If you want to get into the episode right away, then maybe you might want to skip a little bit. But if you want to hear the whole story of what's been going on, be sure to listen through. So yeah, first things first, as you can see, we got some new merch in the house. We got some podcast merch. All right, so right now I only have merch for myself, just so that I can look a certain way when I'm here on these episodes. But hopefully, but depending on what the feedback that I get, from all of you guys that are watching these episodes, if you guys like the merch that you guys see here, I got the shirt here. It's got the Foodie Filmmaker Podcast logo on this side, and it's got the host part on this side. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me go ahead and move the mic here for a little bit. All right, hopefully you guys were able to see that. And we also got the hat that says that we are the host, or at least I am. I am the host of this podcast. And so, yeah, it's been quite of it's been quite of a ride. As you guys might have noticed, I did not upload an episode last week, and that was with a particular reason. 2 weeks ago, I did get sick, so I was unable to record an episode on that week. But then I did come back last week. I came back on Saturday. Today it's Friday from the next week, but I was here last week Saturday, and I attempted to do an episode here in the studio, but unfortunately I had some technical difficulties with the microphone, so unfortunately the episode I wasn't able to capture the audio with this mic. So yes, the entire episode is still recorded on my camera, but it doesn't have the audio of this mic. So I was like, I wasn't feeling the best, I gotta say, when I found out once the whole episode was done, because I didn't know that was going on until the end of the episode when it was time to like export the audio of this mic. I didn't know that it hadn't recorded anything, so I was I was a bit bummed out, and then I tried to record it again. I even asked the studio here if I could get an extra hour so I can re-record the episode, and I did try for a little bit, but then I just kind of accepted my fate for the day, and I was like, you know what? I think it's best if I just kind of leave it alone and I just don't try to record the podcast again, because I just wasn't in the best mood anymore. I was a little bit frustrated. I felt a bit upset just because the audio wasn't captured, and I spent that whole hour delivering all those gems, all the good stuff, only for the mic to not capture any of the audio, and for me to have to re-record the whole thing. I was a bit just frustrated, because I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to say the same things again, because like I said, I don't exactly plan every single word that I say. I don't have detail by detail exactly what's going to be said on the podcast. Like I said, I do have I do have some bullet points as far as like what I want to tackle during the episode, kind of like a guideline to help me out so that I can stay on topic and I cover at least the most important things in the podcast. But other than that, I don't have like a script or anything that I'm following when I'm delivering these podcast episodes. So for the most part, everything is improvised. Everything is kind of flowing as we go. And so there was a lot of good things that I said in that podcast episode that unfortunately I don't think I will say again. And so this episode is pretty much going to be that episode that unfortunately wasn't recorded through the mic. So just so you guys know, I don't want to keep repeating it over and over again throughout the episode. So just know that today's episode, the topic that we're going to be discussing, already recorded it once, and so this is the second time that I'm going to be recording it. Hopefully, I'm able to share the exact same things and maybe add even more stuff, to the podcast, but to the episode. But yeah, that's something that happened last Saturday, unfortunately, and so the audio wasn't captured, and I tried to do it again. It just didn't happen. Just wasn't in the mood anymore. You can kind of tell that I was a bit frustrated, and I kind of didn't want to deliver you guys an episode where I wasn't like in the best mood anymore. Plus, my voice was a little bit janked. It just didn't sound right anymore because like I had already used up my entire voice to talk for an entire hour, and so it's not like many of you guys may know, I'm not a yapper. I'm not a person who tends to talk a lot. So when I devote that much time to talking, eventually, my throat and my voice, starts to crackle a little bit, and it's not really trained to be able to talk for so many for that grand amount of time. So eventually my voice wasn't there anymore as well. And then yeah, I made like a little short video just kind of expressing my feelings at the time. I don't know if I'm gonna be sharing that little clip. I actually didn't even record it on my camera. I recorded it on my phone. I still used the mic to do it, but I was just like just kind of basically expressing myself, how I felt in the moment, and just kind of letting everybody know that these things happen at the end of the day. Sometimes as content creators, it doesn't have to be like in the foodie community, but just in general, like if you're a content creator, sometimes things like these happen where you created a piece of content and something just goes wrong, like you didn't capture the audio. Sometimes it has to do with the video. Sometimes you just forgot to press record or something, or sometimes the for some reason your device just doesn't save the actual file, or it saves it in a way where it gets corrupted somehow, and then like you just lose the entire footage, or you lose the entire audio. In this case, what happened to me last Saturday. But these things happen, and so sometimes there is a possibility that you can kind of make up for it on the spot, where you can re-record everything again. But sometimes it's just not possible, just because of the nature of the content. Sometimes certain things are required for that piece of content to come out good. And in this case, one of the pieces was missing, which was the enthusiasm. Like, I just wasn't enthusiastic about re-recording the whole episode again, even though I had gotten an extra hour to spend here. I just wasn't in the mood anymore. I just wasn't feeling it, and a lot. And this is pretty much a podcast where you're just kind of watching me, you're listening to me, and I want you guys to enjoy the experience of listening to my podcast. So I didn't want to give you guys an experience where I just sounded frustrated, and I was just kind of like forcing myself to re-record the podcast just so that I could put out an episode for you guys. So I just kind of just let it be, and I just left. I didn't want to continue forcing myself because like it just wasn't gonna come out good, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys were gonna notice that, and you guys were probably not gonna enjoy the entire episode listening to me kind of force myself to kind of say the same things all over again. So I didn't want that. So I just pretty much just said I'll be back next week. We'll re-record again, and hopefully I feel much better, which I do now. And so yeah, so that's why I was like, I'll just leave it for another day instead of trying to force myself, and just so that I could put out something. So I was like, I'd rather just let you guys wait an extra week, where I can put out an episode. That way you guys get a good episode, instead of getting one that, instead of getting an episode early on, but it just wasn't going to sound good, and it wasn't going to be delivered in the best way possible. So yeah, so those are the updates. Pretty much that's what happened last week, and now we're back here. We're back here in the studio once again, re-recording this, and hopefully the audio is gonna be captured this time. I did do some tests before I kind of jumped into the episode, so I'm pretty sure like everything is good and it's gonna be smooth. But yeah, I made sure that everything was working correctly. I made sure that I did a little test run there as well, where I kind of recorded a little bit just to make sure that everything was functional and everything. So everything should be good. But yeah, so once again, I want to thank you guys for being patient. And no, in case some of you guys thought that I had already quit the podcast or I had just gotten lazy and I wasn't going to do it anymore, absolutely not. That's just not going to happen. I really love the experience of doing the podcast. I love coming in here and being able to talk to you guys. I enjoy it more than you guys think, even though I am an introvert. And like I said, it's not in our nature to be talking and talking and talking for large amounts of time. But when it comes to the podcast, it's a little bit different just because here I come to share, like I said in previous episodes, I come to share, I come to be of service, and I want to share the things that the things that I've learned and the knowledge that I've collected over the years, as far as like being a content creator, but also being in the foodie community. As most of you guys watching this are in the foodie community, and you guys are foodies, food bloggers, influencers, and stuff like that. So I want to share kind of what I know, and like I said, I do want to bring in guests at some point. I already brought in one, but I do want to bring in more. And so yeah, but other than that, yeah, I mean it's been quite of a rough time. Like I said, I got sick, and then and then that happened with the episode. And other than that, it's been quite busy with work and stuff. So I wish I could come in here into the studio and record a lot more often, like giving you guys like 2-3 episodes. I have a I actually love this, like I said, so I do have enough content to be able to come in that many times a week, but I just don't have the time. So like I come in whenever I can, and so yeah, but like this is fun, this is exciting, and like I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. I've actually, I've heard most of you guys' feedback, and you guys' feedback is amazing. It's awesome, and that's what kind of keeps me going to keep doing this even more. But even if I didn't have the feedback, I think I would still just be doing this just because like I said, I enjoy it, and it's something that I'm pretty sure at least somebody out there will find helpful. And if not, even myself, when I'm editing these episodes, I'm like rewatching the entire episode. It's quite enjoyable even for myself, just to see myself be here and be able to do a podcast, and just knowing from where I came from, that I came from a place where I just didn't really talk much, and I wasn't really comfortable in front of the camera, and much less being in front of a mic. Well, actually with the mic, I do have a little bit of experience with that. Maybe some of you guys know, maybe some of you guys don't, but I used to rap. I used to do rap music, so I did kind of use mics and all that stuff, in the studio, where I used to spit some bars and stuff like that. I haven't done that in a while. I do want to get back to it, but hopefully, maybe in the future, when there's more time, to spare, I might just get back into the mic and just write some raps, and that'll be something cool, something amazing. But yeah, another form of content. Like I said, once you're a content creator, you pretty much just love creating content. It doesn't matter in what area it is. You're just a content creator at heart, and so you'll find creating content in any space just fun and exciting. But yeah, that's basically the intro. That's basically the update. So now we can actually get into the episode, the lost episode, the episode that has been recorded already once, but I'm going to re-record once again today for you guys so you guys can enjoy. The title of today's episode, like I said, I don't want to keep repeating the fact that I that I recorded this episode already, but just one last time, I want to let you guys know, in case you guys skipped it over or something. This episode has been recorded already. It's just that we had a malfunction with the mic, so we're recording it once again for you guys, because the first episode was never put out, because it was the camera itself captured the audio, but the camera doesn't capture really good audio. I don't really like it. It sounds bizarre, and it's just not good. Plus, there's a podcast, so the most important the most important element of this form of content, which is a podcast, it's the audio. So if the audio is not on point, I don't even know if it'll qualify as a podcast, because then the audio itself is janked and like it's not good. So then that's not good. We obviously we want a mic that does the job, a mic that's good, and so that you guys have a good pretty much hearing experience when you guys are listening to this podcast. And I know some of you may not even be watching this. Some of you guys might not even be looking at me when you guys are listening to this podcast. Maybe you guys are doing something else and you're just kind of hearing me in the background. So the audio is obviously the primary lead when it comes to this form of content. So it must be really good. If there's one thing that should be good, it's the audio. The video, I guess you can get away with if it's all right, But when it comes to the audio, if it's a podcast, it has to be on point. It has to be good. So let's go ahead and get into today's podcast, which is going to be about, I pretty much spoke about taking on too many collabs. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so taking on too many collabs. So I've seen and I've heard and I've done it myself too, that some of you foodies are taking on too many collabs to the point where not only is the content looking a little iffy now, but you as a content creator don't look like you got your stuff together anymore, and it's just affecting not only you, but it's affecting the people around you, and it's affecting the restaurants themselves. And so in this episode, I want to kind of talk about why you shouldn't take on too many collabs unless you're planning to go pro, which I will also be talking about. But other than that, if going pro is not your thing, if you're not planning on doing this whole food blogging thing, being a foodie and stuff like that as a business, if you're not planning to make money off of it, if you're not planning to be great and be the best content creator in the game as possible, then you should probably chill on the collabs. You should probably not do that many. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining why you should not be taking on too many collabs and how you can actually manage how many collabs you take on depending on the schedule and the time that you have throughout your day and throughout your week and stuff like that. And so, yeah, unless you want to go pro, and if you are going to go pro, I'm going to be talking about that as well later on after I talk about like why you shouldn't take on too many collabs and how it's not only affecting you, and how it's not only going to affect you, but it's also going to affect the restaurants and the people around you. So what is the biggest consequence, I guess we can start off with? What is the biggest consequence of taking on too many collabs? Well, after giving it some thought and really looking into other people's experiences and looking at my own, I've came to the conclusion that the number one consequence of taking on too many collabs is burnout. So basically, when you reach the stage of burnout, you're pretty much done. You're exhausted. You're tired. You're like, oh my goodness, like I've done so many collabs now. I've been to all these restaurants. I filmed so many things. I've tasted so much food. I've just had a lot, so you feel a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit stressed because you just done so much of it and you've pretty much devoted a lot of time into it to the point where it just kind of consumed you, and you pretty much knew nothing up to this point besides just collabing. So you were prioritizing going on collabs here and there, left and right. You pretty much you gave collabs your priority in your schedule, and so now you've managed to collect a lot of collabs, and there's many ways you can get collabs, which I will get into in a second here. But the point is, you managed to get yourself into a position of a lot of collabs, and now you're kind of like in that space of like, okay, like I've done too many collabs, now I'm just burned out, I'm just exhausted, and you pretty much come to a halt where either you just stop completely, or you start to slow down, or you start to get lazy, you start to procrastinate, you start to delay the time that it takes for you to create the content. Your turnover time, it goes from like a day or two to like 3-4 weeks now. And so now like you're having the restaurants wait on you, and it's just crazy. Or like your editing style, you can kind of tell that it's starting to get a little iffy now, whereas before you put in a lot more effort. Now it's starting to kind of decline. You're starting to do less of what you used to do before. The amount of effort you put when you go to the collab is starting to decline as well. You don't take as many pictures anymore. You're not very creative when it comes to the shots and stuff like that. So that's usually a sign, and those are multiple signs of the fact that you're already reaching burnout or you're already there. So like I said, it happens to a lot of foodies. It's happened to me before. And here's the reason why it's bad. So why is it bad for you? And so first of all, you gotta come to a halt, right? You gotta come to a point where you just stop creating content. And that in of itself is already kind of not the best thing because your page is gonna start to have less and less content, which means that you're essentially telling Instagram or whatever platform that you're using that you're not gonna be consistent anymore when it comes to posting, because now once you reach that stage of burnout, your posting schedules, it starts to fluctuate a lot. So now maybe you went from like posting 3-4 times every single week. Now you go to like once, and then maybe the next week you post nothing at all. And then it's like, and then the next one you post 2 times, and then you don't post again, and it's just like all over the place. It's random. And yeah, so first of all, it affects that, right? So it affects your own page. It affects the performance of your own page, which I get it. Most foodies, if you're doing this for fun and stuff like that, that probably doesn't concern you, because at the end of the day, it's not something that you really will need to like show or anything, or it's not something that you will need to sell, as opposed to if you were to approach this from a business standpoint, then you probably would, because you'll probably go out there and start charging for your content and stuff like that. So you will have to show at least some data. So you have to show the performance of your page and show that you're a consistent poster and that your engagement is high and stuff like that. So all of those things will actually drop once you reach burnout, because you'll start to post less. And because you post less, well, then there's less engagement, there's less people finding your page now. So your the amount of followers will probably start to decline because people are not seeing it. People are not seeing your content. And also because there are people who just basically assume that if you stop posting, that you pretty much just gave up and you're done. And so they'll probably unfollow. You'll be like, why am I going to follow this person anymore if they're not even posting content anymore? So they just kind of don't follow you anymore, and they unfollow. And so that's not good. But so then there's that part, right? There's the part where you basically reach a halt where no content is coming out anymore. No, there's just no more content. And so that's the thing as far as like you. But now for the most part, most of them kind of push each other. So like if you start to kind of go on a decline and start to like not post anymore, well, then that kind of affects your relationships with other food bloggers now, because now they start to see you as like this foodie just doesn't put in as much effort as we do and stuff like that. And so that in of itself is not good either, because you always want to have a good relationship with all the foodies, and you always want to stay consistent as far as like how much you're posting and stuff like that. Because then if you don't, then like I said, it's kind of like you kind of just start to lose the respect of the other food bloggers now, because they're over there, they're out there, they're creating content, they're doing their part, they're keeping their pages healthy and active, while you're letting it kind of just fade out. And at the same time, like I said, it's kind of a community type of deal. Like you have to create content in order to kind of stay part of the community. That's kind of like the deal here. And so if you stop creating content, well, then you kind of just fall out of the community, and you're just not really part of it anymore, unless you have a lot of followers. Then you kind of stay in, but you basically just stay in because you have a lot of followers, not because your content, or because of but not because of the content that you're creating. It's basically just because you have a big following, and that doesn't really make you unique, because then basically anybody who has a big following, they can stay in the loop and stuff, just because you never know when you might need somebody who has a big following to come along with you or something, or for a collaboration or stuff like that. But so it's kind of a thing for you to continuously create content in order to stay kind of relevant in the community. And if you don't, well, then you kind of fall off. And so most of the other food bloggers will pretty much assume that you're kind of already making your way out of the community, and you just don't want to partake in the foodie stuff. And so they will probably just stop talking to you for that reason. And so they'll probably just start to keep their distance because they'll be like, oh, maybe this person just doesn't want to be a foodie anymore. They just don't want to eat anymore. They don't want to kind of come out and have these adventures of being a food blogger and stuff like that. So lastly, and this is the one that I think it really affects the most, which is the actual restaurants. Because I think they're the ones that are most affected just because now you're delaying their content. So because you burned out, because you don't have the necessary energy anymore, the necessary enthusiasm to go out and collab and and after you collab, you do your edits and you post. Now they're getting their content late. Not only are they cutting their content late, but now they're getting a lower quality of content as opposed to when you were really active, you were really enthusiastic about what you were doing, when you were energized, you were putting in your maximum effort. In those times, you were creating amazing content, and the turnover was quick. And so that's basically something that all businesses will like. And here's the thing, like I said, many foodies don't understand, and whether you're doing this for business or not, at the end of the day, you're a food blogger and you are given food for free. And so that food itself, that's a cost that the business itself is investing into you, whether it's a little bit of food or it's a lot of food. At the end of the day, they're investing something in you, and you're not investing anything in return because you're not paying for the food. So you're getting that food completely for free, and in return, what they want is for you to create a piece of content that is good and that's going to help them out. And hopefully, at least one or two people come that are customers that hopefully they come to the store and they actually buy something, and that way they can get the return on investment. But here's the thing, like some of you food bloggers, like you guys don't consider that fact, and you guys think that you guys are entitled just because you have a page, a food blog page where you have all these followers and stuff, and now you feel entitled that restaurants should just give you food for free just because you have all those followers, and that you're not really responsible for providing a good piece of content. But the truth is that you are, because you are taking food completely for free, and they're making an investment on you. They're trusting you. And and at the end of the day, they're waiting for your piece of content. They're waiting for you to post it. That way, you let your audience know that they exist, and hopefully somebody from your audience goes and visits the actual restaurant, and they become actual customers that actually pay, so that that restaurant can keep growing and stuff. Like some of you food bloggers, you guys don't do that. You guys just assume that just by having your food blog pages and then just posting whatever piece of content that your job is done and that you're good to go and stuff. But and that's basically, like, realistically, I guess that's really what happens at the end of the day, because the restaurants themselves don't really have a say as far as like what kind of content they should be getting, or they can't tell you like, okay, like we want this in the video. We want you to start the video this way, then move on to this and this and that. So they don't have any creative control as far as like the piece of content that you create. But they are doing their part by providing you with the assets, with the food that's going to help you create your content. And they're giving you that for free. So the least you can do in return is provide a good service, which in this case is to provide a good piece of content at the end of the day. But a lot of foodies just don't do this. They just kind of half-ass it. But especially if you're burned out, you're gonna do this even if you don't want to. Like, it's just gonna happen because you're burned out. You just don't have the necessary energy anymore. You're exhausted, and so you're basically just gonna rush everything, and you're just gonna put out anything out there just so that you feel good about yourself, and the restaurant doesn't bother you or anything. They're not like pushing you to post that content, and so that's bad for the restaurants because now they're getting a piece of content that was rushed and that wasn't really made properly. and that wasn't made with the fullest effort in mind. And so that's really what hurts me when it comes to the restaurants, because some of these restaurants are barely making it. They're not exactly like booming, especially the ones that like to call in foodies. Like, most of them are not doing well, and the reason why they're calling you in is because they need help. They need more exposure. They need people like you guys, like foodies and influencers, to come in and take content using their food and stuff, and hopefully you make a good piece of content that's compelling enough to get people from the outside world who are not foodies to come in and actually try the food and be paying customers. And so, by you putting out a content that's mediocre, or made very half-assed, well, then you're not creating that impact anymore. And so, like I said, these places are barely making it. Some of them don't even have a social media manager. Some of them don't have the confidence to take on the role themselves. So then they're basically relying on the influencers to create content for them, so they can somehow keep their page active. So they'll use the content of the influencers in order to keep their page running, keep their page active and stuff like that. And the thing is that now, since you're burned out, well, then you're not able to provide that piece of content fast enough. And so now their page can go inactive for quite a while now, because who knows, maybe they don't like calling that many influencers that often to the restaurant, or maybe they wait until like they call one, and then that particular influencer posts, and then they call in the next one, because sometimes it could be a little bit hard to track, especially if you don't have an actual social media manager. It may be hard for the owner to keep track of how many influencers are coming in, and which one came in, and which one still has yet to post, and which one already posted. So it's kind of hard to keep track of that when they have other responsibilities to be taken care of that doesn't involve having to keep track of what influencer is coming and which one posted already and which one hasn't. So for the most part, some owners like to keep it simple. So then they won't allow any more influencers to come in, any more foodies to come in, until the last one that they invited posts. And so if you were that last one that was invited, well, then it's your responsibility to post before the next one can come in. But now, if you're exhausted and everything, you're burned out, well, then now it's going to take you a much longer time in order for you to post, and now you're delaying the possibility of another food blogger to come in, a food blogger who's not burned out, who is enthusiastic, and is not burning themselves out. So they have the sufficient energy to go out there, create a good piece of content that looks good, and be able to turn it around in like 2-3 days, which that's basically what your turnout should be. If it's taking you longer than that, then I just feel like you just shouldn't be a food blogger to begin with, or you just need to organize yourself a little bit better in order for you to turn around your content in that amount of time. And if not, then you just gotta figure out something. It's either something in your schedule, or you need to figure out something in your style of content, because who knows, maybe because you do need to develop a system at some point where it's very easy for you to go collect the content, bring it into whatever, whether you're going to edit it on the phone or you're going to edit it on the computer. You got to have that process already good to go. You got to know exactly how you're going to transfer your files, or if you're going to be editing on the phone, you got to know exactly which app you're going to be using. You got to understand the software that you're going to be using, so you need to understand like where everything is. That way, when it comes time to edit, you know exactly how you're going to edit it. You know exactly where all the settings are. If you're going to be adding transitions, effects, color grading, stuff like that, you know where everything is already. You don't have to be looking through the entire app and trying to find things. But even before that, when you're filming, when you're actually capturing the footage itself, you should already know like what kind of video you're already planning to make. That way you can film according to the edits. So whatever edit you're planning to do, you should already start to film in those certain ways. That way, when you bring in all the footage into the editing software, you kind of already know exactly like where everything needs to be put. That way you can seamlessly be able to just edit everything all in one go. And that way, it systemizes everything. So it makes everything much faster. As opposed to some food bloggers and other content creators that do video, I've seen it where they just don't have any sort of system in place, which means that they kind of just go capture footage on the random. They just kind of try to get money shots left and right, and then like what they bring it into the editing software, and now they're trying to just scramble the whole footage and trying to see like which one, maybe I should put this one first, maybe that one, and stuff like that. And sure, to some degree that's okay. You do want to experiment and see, like, maybe if I throw in this piece of content first, maybe that does better, or if I put this one there and stuff like that. But for the most part, you should have at least an idea of what you want to, how you want your video to look at the end of the day. That way, when you're going out there, you're capturing everything. You're able to do it in a much systemized way. That way, everything can be more, everything can flow a lot faster. It's a lot easier for you. That way, there's not a lot of confusion, a lot of thinking along the way. You kind of already know what you're doing, and that way you can provide a faster turnaround because you already know what you're doing. But some of you just don't know what you're doing, and so you need to figure that out. And I'll talk about how you can figure that out in a little bit. But I pretty much just gave you a little bit of a masterclass there as far as like figuring out a system that's really gonna help you. If you take something from this episode, take that part, develop a system, develop a specific process that can help you from going to the place itself, the restaurant, from going there, filming, capturing everything, going to your editing software, editing everything, and publishing it, or posting or whatever, right? So you need to know that whole process, how it's gonna look, and you want to have something that's proprietary, obviously, to use. That way, it doesn't look very familiar or similar to other content creators. Obviously, you can take inspiration. So, like I was saying, the restaurants. So at the end of the day, they're getting affected. The people in your foodie community are getting affected, and of course you're getting affected because now you are burning out. So now that you understand the consequence itself and basically the repercussions that come with burning out, how do you actually avoid burning out? How do you like not get to that phase where you actually burn out? And like I said, eventually everybody gets to this phase because for several reasons, but I'll talk about it in just a little bit. So let me lay out the reasons as to how you can avoid reaching that stage of burnout. That way you're able to have a healthy page and a fun journey as well. Like, you obviously want to keep it fun, whether you're doing it for business or you're doing it for fun. Obviously, you always want to have some sort of fun with it, because at the end of the day, this is content creation, and of course you want to enjoy what you're doing. You don't want to go out there by force and having to film by force. That usually does not work out. You can definitely distinguish the people who are doing it out of passion and the people who are just doing it just for the sake of just creating content. There's a huge difference. You can tell just in the details and the way that everything is shot, and even when it comes to pictures, you can tell how much effort was put into one picture versus the other one, and stuff like that. You can tell, even when it comes to business too, just because you're doing it for business doesn't mean that all of a sudden you're just going to throw out passion out the door. You're going to throw out your enthusiasm and the fun part of it. It's just that if you're going to do it for business, you're just going to add on that business part on top of the fact that you're already doing it for fun. But because I've seen some people who are doing it strictly for business too, where all that really matters to them is how much money they're making doing this. So all they're doing is just keeping track of how much they're charging per collab, how much they're charging for video, or for pictures, for a photo shoot, for this and that and that. And it's you're like a machine at that point, like a business machine. You're like a business foodie machine who is just solely focused on just making money out of this thing. You just want to just squeeze the hell out of the community and just see how much you can make by being a food blogger and by being a social media manager in the food space. And honestly, those kind of people I don't really connect with. Like, some of them I do talk to them, but it's just I'm not really fully connected with them, because at the end of the day, I know that they're just kind of in it just for the money. They're kind of into it just because at the end of the day, they just want to make profit. And I understand if that's what you want to do, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to associate myself really with you, because I'm not in this just solely just to make money like that. At the end of the day, you should be having fun with it, and you should aim to make an impact through every single piece of content that you're making. And if you're not really doing that, if all you're really doing is like, I'm gonna create this piece of content just to maximize how much money I can make, instead of prioritizing the impact, well, then that's you. If that's what you want to do, you can go ahead and do that. This podcast and this episode is really not about that. It's more about the passion side. It's more about really enjoying what you're doing and how to become better at it, so that naturally all the the money part will come if that's what you're planning to do. It will come eventually if you do good work, if you put out good vibes out there, if you're a great person to work with. Eventually, people are gonna talk about you and they're gonna want to work with you, and so that's the best part of all of this. But if you're really just out there, just kind of hardcore, trying to sell everybody, trying to close every single restaurant to buy your video package, or buy your reel, or buy your social media management package and stuff like that, good luck to you. But just know that we don't associate with people like that in this episode. So how do you actually avoid burnout? Like I said, I've had this happen to me before, and usually it happens kind of in a similar way, where you pretty much start your page, right? So and you can start your page by many ways. There might be very different reasons why you might want to start your page. You start your page maybe because you saw another content creator do it, and you really like their food page, and you're like, hey, I want to start my own too, because I like to try new food as well, and I like to go to all these restaurants and try food and stuff like that. I like to take pictures of what I'm eating and stuff like that. So, you start your page that way. Or maybe a friend, another foodie, another food blogger kind of persuades you to kind of start it. Or maybe you see the potential, what you can do in this industry, and it looks interesting to you, so you just kind of start the page out of random. Or you just casually just start one where you're just posting food content just out of the sake of your heart. However, usually when it comes to you burning out, especially in the beginning stages, is because at the beginning it's very exciting, right? Because you're starting off. Maybe you have you either use your own personal Instagram, and you basically use your own personal social media accounts, and you kind of turn them into foodie accounts, and then you start off with the amount of followers that you have already, or you start a fresh new page, and you start to create food content from that page. Regardless of it, you kind of start doing your thing. You start going on your collabs, and you start to see how fun it is. You start to see how cool it is that you're able to go and create content for all these restaurants. And at some point, you start to see the impact that you're making, right? Because you start to see that, people are giving you feedback. They're telling you, good job. Oh, this content, this reel right here that you made, it looks so cool. I love it. Or, you take a picture, and then the restaurant comments, they're like, oh my God, you made my food look so tasty and stuff like that. And they're like, oh my goodness. And then like somewhere along the line, the foodie community joins you, and so now they're leaving comments on your content. They're like, oh my God, that looks so good. Oh my God, I want to go try stuff like that, right? So then it starts to get very exciting on that end. And so because of that, you start to gain momentum. You start to see like how cool this can actually be. And so you're going out there, you're creating content, you're going on collabs left and right, and you kind of with your, as far as your schedule goes, you start to prioritize going on collabs. And like I said, the collabs come in different ways. So maybe rarely do you ever start collabs where you're the one sending out messages and asking restaurants to let you collab. I know for my part I did, but that's because like I said, I've said in other previous podcast episodes where I said that I already have some marketing background, so I kind of had already done something similar to this already. So I already had some experience reaching out to companies and reaching out to other influencers and ask them for stuff. So I kind of had that experience already. So I did kind of start by sending out messages to restaurants, asking them if they would let me collab there and let me film. But for the most part, most food bloggers, it usually doesn't happen that way. So for the most part, they go out, and for the most part, when you're starting off, you're kind of just paying for your own food. You go out to probably your favorite restaurants, and you start to review those, since those are the ones that you feel like you want to review. You know them already, and it's easy to create content around them because you trust the place, you've been there, you've tried the food, and you like it, and so now you wanna start off by promoting your best places until like later on, you start to create content, you start to gain a little bit of momentum, and then maybe here and there you start to get an invite here and there because a restaurant that actually sends out collabs starts to reach out to you, and so now you start to do those, but you probably won't get as many as you probably won't get many of those at first just because usually a lot of restaurants kind of check for the follower count, and they want to make sure that they're investing because like I said, they're giving away free food, so then they want to make sure they're bringing in the best of the best. And so maybe your page doesn't have enough followers, so they're probably not hitting you up as much. But there is still some restaurants out there who will still like they won't really care about that. They'll just want someone to come in and create content. And if you're making decent content to the degree that it looks good, your page looks decent and it's basically aimed at just food, they'll basically hit you up and they'll be like, come through. And then later on, you start to make some connections in the foodie community. You can start to get invites from like other foodies to come in as a plus one. So now you come in as a guest, where it's their collab. They're the ones there to create the content, but you're just there as a guest. You could always take advantage of that and just start to create your own content as well, because why not? I mean, the food is already there, so you can already easily just create content using the food that you have at your disposition there. And so just like that, you already start to have a lot of collabs coming through. If you're not getting hit up, you're going to your own spots, or you're getting invited as a plus one. And especially if you find a foodie that gets a lot of collabs already, who's already like already up there and stuff, then you probably be brought in as a plus one a lot of the time, especially because there's a lot of food bloggers out there who don't have reliable plus ones, since like most of them are like working and stuff, they're busy, so they're not always able to come through. So then like if your availability is really high, then you'll probably be invited a lot of times just to come through as a guest. And as you do more of that, well, then you start to collab with places that are high end places, because now maybe those foodies are getting like places that normally you wouldn't be able to get on your own, but now you're getting them. You're creating content for those places and you're posting it. And who knows, man, you could even send the collaborator request if you're doing it on Instagram. So now now it looks like you're the one who collaborated with that place. Like most people won't really know that you came in as a guest, unless of course they're very connected in the foodie community. But other than that, they won't really know that you came in as a guest. They'll probably think that you got yourself that collab right on your own, and you don't have to necessarily write that down there that you came in as a guest. You can just pretty much write a normal review of what you thought of the food, and that's it. And so that's kind of how you start to build up a lot of momentum. But at first you're kind of treating it more on the emotional side, so you're excited, you're pumped, you want to get in as many collabs as you possibly can. And so you're just out there just pumping the stepping on the gas and just going full out, trying to get as many collabs as you can. And so you basically just kind of forget about almost everything. You start to neglect a lot of the things in your schedule, and you just prioritize collab. And you start to forget that there was a lot of things in your schedule that also mattered, and that were kind of keeping you stable and kind of sane to some degree. And so you start to forget that those things exist, and you're just focusing on just collab. And so eventually, when it comes to the burnout point, you kind of start to realize like, oh, I had all these other things in my life as well. I had those hobbies here, I had that hobby there. I used to have these friends I used to hang out with and stuff like that. Maybe I used to spend more time with my family and stuff like that. And now I just kind of been neglecting all of that and just been prioritizing just going on collabs, because those were fun. I was hanging out with friends in the foodie community, I was getting free food, I was getting praised for all these pictures and videos that I was making. Life was good until obviously you reach the burnout point. So here's the thing, like, in order to not reach that stage, you really want to first of all, I would suggest that you at least experience one burnout at some point. Experience one burnout. One burnout will not hurt you as much, especially if you still haven't experienced your burnout right now. That's even better because if you're watching this, I'm gonna teach you like how to deal with it. But if maybe you're in a stage of burnout right now, I can show you right now how to actually deal with that. So if you do reach a stage of burnout, or like I said, if you haven't, I highly suggest that you do, because reaching that stage of burnout can teach you a lot, especially to kind of like create that balance, or maybe not have that balance. This is kind of a determining point where you have to decide, really, like, are you going to do this for fun, or are you going to go pro? So let's go with the fun part first. So if you're going to decide to do this for fun, you're fully committed, you've reached this burnout point, you're not biased anymore, you're not like in your honeymoon phase, I guess you can call it, of collabing. You can think a little bit more clearly now. So what do you want to do? You want to do this for fun? You want to continue doing this for fun? You want to go pro, or you want to completely stop? Because you can completely stop as well. You can be like, you know what, this isn't really for me. I know I've tried a whole lot of different things. I tried it for a little bit, and I just saw that it just wasn't for me. I don't really want to continue doing this. And so one possibility is that you can completely stop, not do any more food content, and that'll be the end of that. The next thing you can do is pursue this more as a business, so you can go pro, or you can actually just settle and do this just for fun while you do other things in your life. So let's go with the fun part. So if you're gonna do this for fun, obviously, if you're gonna do this for fun, you want to keep it fun. In order to keep it fun, you obviously want to space out your collabs and not do as many of them. That way you have enough breathing room in order to get other things done in your life as well that actually matters. So, if you're doing this for fun, chances are that you're not really pursuing this. You're not going to pursue it as a business. You already made that decision. So if you're not going to pursue it as a matter of as a way to make money, well, then you're probably then thinking about doing something else in order to make money. So then whatever that thing is, that's probably your real passion over there. So that's what should be taking up most of your time. So get your schedule together, learn, know exactly what matters to you. And if you're doing this for fun, like I said, that's cool, but know exactly like what actually matters to you, and set your priorities straight. So maybe you want to go and maybe you want to be a musician, so, and you probably postpone a lot of your music stuff just to go on these collabs. Well, now it's time to devote the necessary time, if that's what you want to do. If you want to become a full-time musician, and stuff like that, then you go and you do that, like I was mentioning, maybe you need to spend time with your family, hang out with your friends, your hobbies that you were doing back in the day, things that you really need for your soul, go and do those things as well. Make sure you have a schedule in place where those things are still happening, and then here and there, you can schedule like at least what I would say is a good number is 2 to 3 collabs for a week, when you're doing this for fun. So 2 to 3 collabs for a week should be more than enough, and make sure those are getting posted. So if you're gonna be posting, you can either post 2 or 3 times a week. I think that's a good amount to keep the account healthy, keep yourself active, keep yourself still kind of part of the community, and at the same time still continue to enjoy, because you're still you're still being active, you're still doing a decent amount of collabs, to the point where good restaurants with good food will still catch you up, and that'll always keep it fun, because you always want to keep trying good food. At the end of the day, you want to keep it fun, right? So 2 to 3 collabs per week, I think that's something that's manageable. If you think it's still too much, you can still bring it down to 1 to 2 collabs per week, and that will still be good enough, I would say. And but yeah, definitely find that number. I would say eventually I wouldn't do more than 3 per week. I think that more than three is already going into more of the pro side. But 1 to 3 collabs per week should be more than enough. And of course, if things do arise where you need to prioritize other things in life, never feel guilty about just taking the whole week off if you need to. If you're not able to go and do your collabs, that's totally fine, because at the end of the day, like I said, you're doing this for fun. It's not because you're not doing this because you need to, or you're not doing this to make a living out of it. It's just for fun. And so obviously the other things need some priority as well. And so that's basically how to do it for fun, and that's how you pretty much avoid burnout. You never want to overdo yourself, and at the same time, you keep it fun, and always you do a reasonable amount of content to the degree where you have a reasonable turnout time. It's not like 3 to 4 weeks. Like, that's just ridiculous. That's a little too long for you to turn over a piece of content that should only last like 30 seconds. Like, if your turnaround time is that long, that means that you're doing too many collabs. You're just taking on too many. And I get it, sometimes you get that whole FOMO thing where you're like, oh my God, like I have fear of missing out. You get you getting like an invite to go somewhere, and you're like, oh my God, I need to take it. I need to go here. What if that place cancels my collab, doesn't let me go anymore because I took like this long to go? Believe me, most of the places will be understanding. Obviously, if you get reached out and they ask you to come through to a collab, if you're actually busy, and you're keeping your collabs reasonably spaced out, then just let them know. Be honest with them, because they'll understand. They'll be like, you just gotta let them know, like, hey, you know what, like, I got other things going on in my life, like, I would love to come through. I can come through on this specific day. But other than that, I can come in earlier, or you can just kind of leave the collab just sitting there. You can kind of let them know on the messages that you saw their message. You can like the message, and sometimes you can tell them like, hey, you can be like, thanks for the invite. I'll go ahead and reach out to you once I'm ready to schedule a visit. And you pretty much just leave it at that. And then whenever you feel like you're ready to go there, you can just reach out. Or you can just leave it there, and then whenever you're ready to actually go, you can go ahead and open the message and just kind of let them know, like, hey, sorry it took me a while to get back to you. I was busy, but could we make this happen on this day and time? And for the most part, most restaurants will be understanding, and they'll let you come through. Never have that. Just, there's always going to be more collabs. There's always going to be more opportunities for you to create content. So you should never like try to like overdo yourself just to basically make stuff happen like that, unless of course you're going pro. Now let's go ahead and talk about actually going pro, because I've been talking about that for a little bit, and so I want people to know about like going pro. So now let's just say that you are considering going pro, right? You're considering actually doing this for a living. So you're considering becoming a top foodie, right? So you want to become a big influencer. You want to have a lot of followers, and you want to be able to charge for your content. Not only just going collab for free, or collab just for it, or collab just to get food in exchange, but you want to collab to actually get paid. You want to get paid and get the food for free. Or you want to become a social media manager, where you take over restaurants' social media accounts, and now you become the back end of those restaurants, and you create content for them. So if that's the case, if that's something that you're interested in, you want to become you want to pursue this in a more business side, then when it comes to the burnout stage, you basically got to plow through. You got to be able to go through that and basically kind of just suppress it. Really, you're just gonna have to like go through it, allow those emotions to be there, allow the burnout to be there, and you're just gonna have to push through. You're gonna have to actually find ways to accomplish whatever task you're given, because at the end of the day, you're already playing with money here. And so, like, you have responsibilities at that point, because, if a restaurant is paying you to make content, now you have to deliver. It's not like the restaurant is asking you for a favor here, just giving you free food or stuff. They're actually paying you money. So now you actually have to deliver. You actually have to And for the most part, restaurants will get a lot more picky when it comes to the paid stuff. So they'll probably tell you like they want their content to look a certain way, and they want the content to be posted on a certain date. And so like you have to deliver at that point because you're getting paid. So now you have to you have to deliver. You have to actually make true on your promise and, post the content whenever it needs to be posted. And so, yeah, or if you're working with clients, well, then you have to keep their pages up and running and stuff. And so even if you burn out, there's no time for you to just, bring their thing to a halt because they're paying you to run their page. And so like they're paying you to keep their page active, to keep their page going, and they're paying for you to keep posting content on their pages. It's not like you're doing them a favor or anything. They're paying you in order to make that happen, so you need to make that happen. And if you're not making it happen, well, then you're gonna get fired. And so you don't want that. So like you really have to train yourself at that point. And yes, when it comes to you doing it as a business, you don't have that luxury to be doing 1 to 3 collabs per week now. Now you do want to ramp it up. You want to do at least like five to six, even 7 if you could. If you could do like 1 collab per day, that's even better because now you're training, you're getting yourself trained, you're working on yourself, you're really getting yourself position yourself in a place where like, okay, I'm a master content creator. I'm able to create content. Like I'm able to create this much content. I have the skill and the ability and the mindset to create this much content. And so now like this is a great asset that you can pretty much sell yourself on when you're trying to get your when you're trying to either sell your reels for a certain price, so like packages, or even sell your social media management services. You're able to tell the business owners like, hey, I'm capable of creating these many this much content. I'm pretty good at it. I have a systemized way to create content and to keep your pages up and running where I can post for your pages every single day. So then, it can become pretty brutal. Like right now, I have a few pages that I'm running and I'm supposed to post for them like 5 times a week on top of my own page. So then that's a lot of content going out. So for me, like I'm pretty much, I'm doing at least 1 per day. At least 1 video per day, but some places, I'm filming 10 videos per day, and I just have to go through it. And do I face burnout here and there? Of course I do. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna film. Like I really have nothing in mind, and I still have to go, and I still go, and I still film the content, and I still have to post it, and nobody knows. Nobody really knows. People will see my content posted on there and they think that it looks cool and stuff. And sometimes people would never know. People will never know that I was burned out. I had no idea what I was doing there. I was exhausted. Like I was in a blank and I was just filming at random. And it does happen. Sometimes I do film at random, like I said. I have told you guys that that you should develop a system and everything, right? But even though I have a particular system as far as like recording and I have a particular system as far as creating content. At the end of the day, sometimes I don't even feel like following my own system, and I just feel like just winging it and just doing whatever the hell comes to mind and stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, like to me, that's kind of the best way to kind of get out of a rut and get out of a burnout because you kind of stop following the structure itself and you kind of just let yourself kind of get back to that state of like where you just flow, right? That state of where you just let your imagination just flow freely. You kind of just let loose. You kind of let go of the pressure of needing to create good content that always hits, that gets a lot of views and stuff. And you're just kind of letting yourself just, have fun with it and just let loose and like, screw it. You get a couple views here and there, whatever, like it happens. Not every single piece of content that you make is going to be a banger. So it's okay. Just kind of accept it and just move on and just do your job at that point. Because at the end of the day, when you're going pro, this is your job now. This is something that you get hired for. It's pretty much your duty, your responsibility now to do this. It's not like you're doing a favor now. It's not like you're doing it for fun. Even though those things do apply at some, to some degree, but what takes priority here is the fact that you're doing this as a business now. You're doing it as a job, and you have a responsibility to deliver now. And it's not just upon you, but it's upon the people that pay you. So now, like, it's not only for yourself, but it's for them. You gotta deliver for them in order to give them a good service, a good piece of product, a good piece of content, and help them out. It's really, at the end of the day, it's for them. And so you want to deliver for them, be of service to them. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. So then so if you go pro, that's basically how you deal with the burnout. If you're going for fun, if you're going to do this for fun, that's how you deal with the burnout over there. But of course, like I said, so the reason why I said that you should at least experience a burnout at least once, or if you haven't experienced it yet, kind of try to make it happen on purpose, is because it's through burnout that you can kind of recognize your limits. You can kind of recognize how far you can go. And also, when you reach the burnout stage, that's when you can make that critical decision where, you decide if you want to go pro, where you want to do this as a business, you want to take this seriously, or you want to go the fun route where it's more lighthearted. It's not that serious. You're just kind of doing this just to enjoy yourself. Or maybe it's time to stop. Maybe it's time to just, cut the, stop doing what you're doing, and it's time to move on to do something else. But unless you reach that burnout stage, you'll never really know. You'll never really commit and decide as to where you want to go. And the thing is that sometimes you may not know. You might reach the burnout. You might still be undecided. So you just take a guess, you commit to one, and then you wait for the next burnout. You wait for the next critical point where you need to make that decision once again. And so eventually after having a lot of those moments, you eventually realize which one you want to pursue. But yeah, both are, all three options are valid. Whichever one you want to do, if you want to call it quits already and just go, you can do that as well. This isn't really meant for everybody, and nobody should be doing this by force. There's so many content creators out there, especially in the foodie community, who truly enjoy this. So it's not like it's vital for any particular person to be part of this community, because there will always be more coming through. And so yeah, but it's always good to, at the end of the day, really focus on yourself and really think about what you really want for yourself and what's going to make you happy, what's going to fulfill you as a content creator, as someone who has stepped into this realm of foodie, being a food blogger, and now you just got to decide which one you want to be. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That was pretty much the episode there. A little bit more organized, I think. I didn't even look at my notes this time. Whereas the first time I kind of did a little bit, because it was the first time delivering it. Now it's my second time, so I had a good idea of what I was gonna say. I still remember a lot of the points that I said. I'm pretty sure I covered pretty much everything that I covered in that original episode. But yeah, here you have it. That was pretty much the episode I had originally recorded last Saturday, but unfortunately, due to the audio not working, I wasn't able to publish it. But now you should be getting this version, and this version I think is a little better. It's a little bit more organized and stuff like that. And so yeah. But yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Really consider the burnout. Don't get there unless you want to do it on purpose, so you can know your limits, know exactly, what you can handle and what you can't. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on my new Instagram page. I made a new Instagram page just for the podcast, so you guys can kind of see a little bit more of just the podcast itself. Because my primary Instagram page is mainly so I can post all the food content over there. But on this podcast IG, I'm going to be posting like more of just the podcast itself, get a little more personal, probably post a few more of like the clips, more of like podcast clips, so you guys can see like little segments of every episode. Maybe in case you missed one of them, maybe you see a clip of what was discussed in that clip, and then what was discussed in that episode. And if you like the clip, maybe you want to go and watch the full episode here on YouTube. But yeah, Other than that, I'll leave the link down below so you guys can follow that Instagram page. But still follow my own personal page as well at the Foodie Filmmaker. That's where I post all the cool content and stuff. Also on TikTok, at the Foodie Filmmaker as well. Yeah, other than that, subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode, and thank you for watching once again.